We have a ton to talk about today with Pokemon Home. We have officially been given a date of when it will be released, and it is next week, May 23rd, 6 p.m. PDT. Pokemon Home will be updated to version 3.0.0, and players will be able to link Pokemon Home with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Linking Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to Pokemon Home will allow players to move Pokemon freely between Pokemon Home and their game. So we finally have the Pokemon Home. It's coming next week. I'm so excited. I'll be talking about a bunch of stuff in today's video. I'll link some timestamps down below. So first, we'll be talking about the compatibility of Pokemon Home and what it actually means for Pokemon. Then I'll be going into what that means itself. Basically, if you can see the picture right here, I'll just give you, this is like the quick overview, but like Legends Arceus Pokemon can go back and forth, Scarlet Pokemon can go back and forth, into Sword and Shield as long as they exist. So I think this is the first time we've had that sort of compatibility since Generation 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken, with trade backs. So that's really exciting. I'll also be talking about what the OU Council is currently voting on of Pokemon that are coming back and which one they're banning. I'll be talking about the Pokemon that are coming with Pokemon Home as well. If you consider these things spoilers, just skip the specific thing, but you gotta remember, it's not like new Pokemon are coming, they're just old returning Pokemon that are coming, plus the Legends Arceus Mons that are coming too. So they've all existed, so I don't think there's any spoilers in this game, but if you consider that spoiler, I'm going to label everything perfectly. And we'll also be talking about what the moves mean for the Pokemon. So alright, let's get into it. Subscribe if you like this content. And again, this is going to be kind of rushed because I'm on a timer. Not rushed, but like it'll be overall all over the place. So basically, if a Pokemon appears in Scarlet and Violet and it appears in Sword and Shield, you can actually trade it between them via Pokemon Home. So for example, Dolliv cannot be moved to Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, or Brilliant Diamond BSP because it does not appear in those games. A Pikachu, though, from Scarlet and Violet can be moved to those games because it appears in them. Additionally, the Terra type of Pokemon moved to Scarlet and Violet will be determined by the original types or types. So as well, we're getting like Sprigatito, Fuecoco, Quaxly with hidden abilities. Yeah, we've had those for a while, but they're Mr. Gifts, so you don't have to do anything for them if you don't really want to. I think this is the really interesting thing, though. And I'm just gonna read it from Sarah because I like the way they have the font. It's a little bit better. You'll be able to put Pokemon back from Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield. A Nintendo Switch version will add a new move relearner, which will allow you to relearn moves of a Pokemon through the app. This allows them, I'll put this if you want to read along, but this allows them to learn moves from a list of moves that is learned up to that point, limited to moves that can be learned in Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, some moves excluded, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Basically, what this means is if a Pokemon learns a specific move via level up or I guess technical record or TM in Generation 8, it can have it in Scarlet and Violet. I believe that is what this means. This is not confirmed, but based on the way they wrote it, it kind of feels this way, right? And this is huge. This is absolutely huge. And let me give you an example of why this is huge. So Toxapex, a Pokemon currently in Generation 9, does not have access to Scald. In fact, nothing has access to Scald. However, in Generation 8, it learns Scald via technical record, which, based on what they're saying, does that not mean that Scald is back for Toxapex? Because I can just transfer a Toxapex with Scald to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Like, why would it be deleted? The only reason it doesn't have it is because it just doesn't learn it in Scarlet and Violet. But Scald is in the game because Volcanion can have it. So that's just like one example there. I'll look at Gliscor as well. Gliscor is not coming back with Pokemon Home. It's coming back with the DLC. Now, Gliscor... knockoff, a lot of Pokemon don't have access to knockoff right now, and I'm assuming this also means that moves that came from before, so for instance, Weavile and Sneasel were unfortunately, they don't get knockoff in Gen 8, right? They got knockoff because of Pokemon Home. So they don't get knockoff in there, they don't get knockoff in BDSP, they don't get knockoff in Legends Arceus. So Weavile shouldn't technically have knockoff, however, it should have access to Throat Chop now because in BDSP, it got Throat Chopped. I always hated that and also it got it from a technical record as well. I always hated when Pokemon moves get like deleted for no reason. I feel like it's very dumb, especially on mons like that. Like, just give us the mon with the move. If it's a compatibility issue from like an event, just give it the move going forward, naturally, kind of like how they ended up doing with Entei and Sacred Fire. I think it was Sacred Fire. I learned it like a level 1 or some crap like that. So I always hated that, and I hate that Mons get nerfed because of that. So I'm really hoping that at least Weavile can get access to that. Not that's going to help. It's RU right now. But one of the things that is really, really interesting Well, multiple things, right? The fact that Pokemon from Legends Arceus should have their move pool going into Scarlet and Violet. So just to give you an example of a Pokemon that's currently in the game that doesn't have its moves that it had in Legends Arceus. Let's look at Gardevoir. Gardevoir, solid, no, lower tier Pokemon, always been solid, good in draft too. Only ice move it has is Ice Punch. In Legends Arceus, this mon learns Ice Beam and Recover. This is something it doesn't currently have. And based on my understanding of this, and again, this is not 100% fact. I'm just taking it based on the knowledge they gave us. If I can transfer it and it has a list of moves it can bring, why would they get rid of this? So Gardevoir should have both Ice Beam and Recover. Amazing for draft. Really good for singles too, in my opinion. Ice offensively is really good, offensive coverage. But more importantly, it can use Recover without having to use Wish for recovery. So a Will-O-Wisp set with Recover. Call me Stall 2, baby. Because look at this. I'm just like trying to show you guys like really cool things that could happen with obviously with Trace. So like things like that could happen. So we're going to be going over the list of Pokemon super quick. I'm just going to show you them really quick which ones are coming back. And then we're going to go over some of these cool things that they'll be getting. So excuse the picture. I was on Blunder's stream. I couldn't find my image of this from before. But these are the mons that are coming back with Pokemon Home. This doesn't show like the double types, like if there's other versions of them. So for instance, like the starters, like the oh, actually it does have it right here. Whatever, ignore me. So the mons coming back with Pokemon Home, regular Tauros, both Articuno forms, obviously, both Moltres forms, both Zapdos forms, Mewtwo, Mew, Muk, Galarian, and regular. I believe both are coming back. That's what I'm talking about with that, like Slowbro, Slowking, and obviously all the Hisuians, Persian, and then obviously we have the Genies right here, Meloetta, and then I believe this is Basculegion White Stripe. That's why they have it there. And then we have Hoopa, which is amazing too. Diancie, Carbink, and obviously Magearna, and then, you know, all forms of Decidueye and stuff like that. So this is a really exciting list. And these Pokemon, in theory, I'm looking at Pokemon like Zapdos, right? And like, so Pokemon like Zapdos learns Heat Wave from technical record 36. So that means that Zapdos should, in theory, be able to have Heat Wave, but this is not where it stops, right? If I'm not mistaken how it works, yeah, I can transfer my Zapdos from BDSP to here, or I can transfer my Zapdos from a different game back. Does that mean that Zapdos and BDSP could now have a move pool because Heat Wave is already in BDSP? So that's just like, things like that are very, very, very exciting to me, because that means that I can go back to this metagame. I like BDSP. The reason most of us stopped playing it is because it got really repetitive. Move pools were very limited, things like that. But imagine I'd be able to bring my. I'm not saying I'm gonna play BDSP because I have Scarlet and Violet with Pokemon Home to play. But that just makes maybe potentially that metagame even better. So that's just something that's really exciting for me. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, do you think those moves are actually going to work the way I'm saying it? Because it says they're transfer moves, and it says from, obviously there's excluded moves from BDSP that they don't currently have in other games, which I think is completely fine. I will look at that in a sec. But I think that's really exciting just to look at that. So now we're looking at some of the other Pokemon that are already here, that are already in the game currently, that learn like other moves. So Scizor, for instance, and shout out to Roy for this. I'll link this down below. Scizor has Calm Mind from Legend Arceus, if this is working the way we think. Which is kind of funny. Blissey has Draining Kiss. Imagine terrestrializing to a Blissey and doing Calm Mind Draining Kiss. Probably doing no damage. Heracross is Outrage, whatever. Sneasler gets Drain Punch. Great. Fantastic. I don't think Mighty N is in the game. If it is, damn, I am disrespectful as hell. Gardevoir obviously having Ice Beam and Recover. And again, some of these Pokemon are not coming back. He gives a little thing there. Some of these Pokemon are not coming back yet. They'll be coming eventually with DLC, or they're just never coming back at all. Who knows? But the ones that are coming back obviously are pretty exciting. Like Deoxys having Toxic Spike when it eventually comes out. So as you can see right here, this doesn't have Generation 4 on the list. Are there no Pokemon coming from Generation 4? So I paused it for a second and realized, wait, I'm Blunder's friend. I can just ask him for this list on Discord. So now we can actually see it as well. But obviously Heatran is coming back too, which will be amazing. Like obviously everybody, I think we need Heatran right now in the metagame. I'll be completely on it. But we have Heatran coming back too, and then we have a lot of Gen 8 coming back as well. So when it comes to Heatran, let's see if it actually learns everything. And I think this one is really exciting too. And Empoleon will finally have access to Roost again. I'm so hyped for that when it eventually comes back, right? And Empoleon getting access to Roost is amazing. Lucario getting Mach Punch for Swords Dance or even Bandit sets. Toxicroak getting Earth Power eventually. Again, these mons are not coming back now, but they will come back eventually. And then you have like Luminion getting Roost, yay. Togekiss, when it comes back, getting Calm Mind and Moonblast. Ooh, it already has Nasty Plot, but being able to boost your special defense, plus having a good stab in Moonblast and not Dazzling Gleam is incredible. We already know Gliscor gets Spikes. Mesprit gets Recover. Cresselia gets Recover. It also has its Lunar Blessing, I think. Will also be able to... Lunar Blessing is basically a jungle healing for Cresselia, which is amazing, right, for status, but Recover is also big too, 50% as well. And Skyman getting access to Sleep Powder and Recover is absolutely insane, and Arceus obviously getting Healing Wish as well. So there's just some like things that are coming back that are really big. Obviously, Basculegion getting its Calm Mind from female Basculegion, which is huge for the special attacking set, because it didn't have that in this move pool here, so it won't be able to have that. But like this is big, and again, this is assuming I'm reading this right, because I don't think the distribution of Knockoff and Toxic and Defog will be able to happen, just because those are moves that Pokemon like Weavile and Lanners got from Generation 7, like in like generations before, etc. So, and because they didn't have that in their move pool in Generation 8, we only got that just because of Pokemon Home prior. I don't think they'll be able to have that there, so I don't think Lanners will still have access to Defog, Knockoff, or Toxic at all. I do not think that's going to happen. But I think that Pokemon that got it in Generation 8 will obviously, from Generation 8 itself, will obviously be able to have it. But again, I want to know your thoughts on that. And lastly, it was a pretty short video. I'll eventually do a stream on all this, and we'll have a big breakdown and I'll talk about it. But the OU Council is currently has a list of Pokemon they are looking at, and they are voting on whether they should be banned or not. So this is a list right here. I wanted to know your guys' opinion on all this. In fact, if you want, just write these Pokemon down and what would you put after them. So Annihilate, still, this is Finchinator's personal voting. Annihilate, Uber. Basculegion, Uber. I think no like questions there when it comes to Basculegion, right? It's a Last Respects Pokemon that, unlike Houndstone, has good stats. Has Swift Swim and Adaptability. Yeah, pretty busted. Chi, Uber. Champa OU, I'm actually pretty interested to see the reasoning behind that. I mean, I've always advocated for this Mon being in the tier, I'll be honest, but maybe it's because of the inclusion of Magearna coming back, or Heatran, so if it clicks Crunch and gets Flame Body, it's oval, but I'm not sure why. Spathler Uber, RIP. Fluttermane Uber, Houndstone Uber. Now, I will say that both Basculegion and Houndstone will probably be banned because of Last Respects, and he does note down here that if both Houndstone and Basculegion got banned, I'll advocate to ban Last Respects and allow both Pokemon. However, if you don't want a complex ban that, or if you're doing that, you have to also prove that Last Respects is broken on Basculegion White Stripe, which it does get, and I don't see why it wouldn't be, because it still also has adaptability. It can Terrasilize into a Ghost type, so it actually gets a stab. I know that adaptability with Terra doesn't give you like an insane boost, but at least you'll have your Ghost stab in Last Respects. And I mean, even if it doesn't Terra into a Ghost, right, like Last Respects can still go up to what, 350 and higher. So it's not at all like anything that I don't think it's anything that it doesn't even have to be stat to be broken, is what I'm trying to say. That move caps out at 5,050 base power if you can somehow revive a Pokemon 100 times. So that's pretty, yeah, I think that's kind of strong. Though usually the highest you'll get in a battle is like 300. So still pretty crazy. Iron Bundle Uber, yeah, fair, whatever. Landers Incarnate Uber, it gets Nasty Plot now, so pretty nasty inclusion. So yeah, it was already broken before without it. This is the Earth Power variant. Magearna Uber is interesting. I think it's just because Terrasilizing with Shift Gear plus its ability. Soul Heart would be insane, so I guess I understand it. Palafin Uber, yeah. Regieleki OU is the really interesting one, because everybody's freaking out about Regieleki, because with Terra, it can now become an Ice type and have stab Ice moves, and they're like, oh, well, that's so bad defensively. Dude, it's not a Mon that's taking hits, it's a Mon that's dishing them out. Regieleki is not known for its defensive prowess. It's not there to tank hits. It went from only having one weakness to ground to a bunch of them because of Ice. Like, yeah, okay, who cares, bro? The wind blows the wrong way, Regieleki falls over. But I think Regieleki and OU is a really interesting start, because this generation we have a bunch of great ground types, right? Great Tusk, Iron Treads, Ting-Lu. Two of those will actually completely smash Regieleki regardless of Terra. And this is interesting though, because you can also technically use Regieleki the same way you did before, which is basically wearing down the ground types and then terrestrializing now into an electric type to get even stronger. So that's a really interesting thing that he wants to have in OU, and I'm actually really down to try it out. I want to try out. What I personally hope is that if these mons all get banned, you try them in periodically. I know that the OU Council is also on a time crunch because they like to do things for tournaments, and World Cup is right around the corner. I think they're even talking about potentially speeding up World Cup, like when it starts. So this is really interesting to think about. I want to know your thoughts on that. I'm fine with trying out Regieleki and seeing how it actually is. I also want to note that Terra Blast is such a big buff in general for Regieleki, regardless of terrestrializing, because previously if you wanted coverage on Regieleki, you're using Swift or Ancient Power, 60 base power, and Terra Blast is 80 base power naturally. So you just naturally have a stronger move. Spectre Uber, they gave this mon Psychic and Draining Kiss. They gave it Calyrex, Shadow Riders coverage. So yeah, plus you can terrestrialize into a fighting type, and it just snowballs because of its Chilling Eye ability. So yeah, get rid of that mon for sure. Urshifu Single Strike Uber. That mon gets Swords Dance now. Wicked Blow was nerfed, I believe, by like 5 or 10 base power, but that doesn't matter when you can Terra into a dark type and get more, or you have Swords Dance to be stronger before. This mon was already bad when it only had Bulk Up. Now it has Swords Dance. So I get it. This is the really interesting one though. Zamazenta and Zamazenta Crowned OU. Now, for those that don't know, Zamazenta now has a buff in this generation, right? It learns Body Press finally. Made 0 sense that that mon didn't get Body Press until this generation. Made 0 sense. It is the shield Pokemon. It has Iron Defense. You made Zacian as broken as it was, and then you made Zamazenta so trash, but it finally gets Body Press, which is really cool. However, it did get nerfed. It has -10 stats in the Zamazenta form, regular. So it's, I believe, goes from base 130 to 120, and then also -10 attack for its attack. And then Zamazenta Crown also -10, but it also has, I believe, -5. I can actually look at it right here. You can actually look at it right there. Yep, perfect. -5 in its defense, so from 145 to 140. So sucks this mon got nerfed because Zacian was the broken one and not this one. So I'm actually a little bit sad about that. But what would it be like in OU? I do think that Iron Defense sets would be insane, right? And because you could Terra to a fighting type and it has 1 billion defense. It doesn't have Swords Dance though or Bulk Up. It only has Howl to raise its attack, but like a Howl set with... Can't you Terra? Like, is there not... I don't think there's anything stopping you from terrestrializing with this Pokemon, right? Like a Howl set into a Terra Psychic Fangs to deal with Clodsire. Even if it's unaware, you're going to 2-hit KO it. And also Toxapex, which you probably will knock out at +1 because it's really strong. And you have the Stab. So I think it would eventually be banned anyway, just like it was in National Decks. Like this mon went down to UU and then it got banned from National Decks, if I'm not mistaken. So I do think it'll eventually be banned, but I'd be okay with trying it. But we also don't have Pokemon like Buzzwole currently and stuff like that to test it out. So I'm not 100% sure on that. And then Regieleki, I'm surprised this mon wasn't even mentioned at all because I do think this mon with Terra, again, who knows about the fate of Terra when it comes to Scarlet and Violet with home updates. But yeah, that's really interesting. But I'm very excited for Pokemon Home. Also, we actually gonna have an Ubers tier now. We're gonna have real Ubers, not Ubers, not OU +2, right? Which are the cover legendaries and everything we ended up banning. But I'm excited about that. I want to know your thoughts. What do you guys think about the RELEARNER moves? Am I right in the way you think? Do I think I'm wrong with it? Let me know. I'm not going to take anything personally. This is all just based on the information they gave us, right? This is all based on the information they gave us. When bringing a Pokemon from home into the link game, you'll be able to change the moves it knows from a list of moves it has learned up to that point. These moves are limited moves that can be learned in Sword and Shield, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I feel like I'm right. I don't know though, and they're very vague when it comes to the information. Like this is limited to it, but obviously we'll know the movesets come next week. I am so excited, guys. And I'm actually happy that Pokemon Home is not coming out this weekend. So we'll see, because I'm busy this weekend. But for me, selfish. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you on the next one. Feel free to pick up my Draco Shaker if you guys haven't already. We sold over 700 units. Freaking hype. Awesome. I got a flavor hopefully coming out in a month or two. Hype about that as well. So a lot of stuff. Use code AIM. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.